creating custom Pokemon for you! Welcome back, everyone, to the show where we select lucky commenters to spin a series of random wheels that give us factors for a Pokemon that we then create just for you. It's gonna be an awesome episode today, y'all. We're gonna make 3 amazing custom Pokemon as always, so I hope you enjoy, and if you end up wanting a custom Pokemon for yourself, then don't forget to leave a comment because I'll be randomly selecting people from this video's comments for the next episode. But without further ado, let's get into the first Pokemon. And this one will be for Whale Man. That's quite the rating. So alright, Whale Man, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be a Convergent Evolution. That's a great way to start off the episode. And it means that now we have to spin this wheel to see what generation of Pokemon will be making a Convergent for, and it's Gen 5, my favorite generation ever. That's great. And now, of course, we'll spin this wheel that has every single Gen 5 Pokemon on it, and we got Darmanitan. That is an incredibly interesting Pokemon, especially because of its Zen mode form and everything, so that's gonna be super fun. And now let's see what new typing we'll be giving to this Convergent Darmanitan. The first type is the Rock type. I can definitely see that working with the Zen mode for sure, and Rock Dark type. That's actually super rare because I think Tyranitar is the only Pokemon to ever have that typing before. And the last step before I see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and you do, a Corrupted form. We are starting off this episode on a crazy note. Zen mode by day, warriors by night. The first stage of your Pokemon is Gothamaka, the baby gargoyle Pokemon. These Pokemon live in the expansive gothic landscape of what is today Lumio City in the Kalos region. A city that at the time was known for its ruthless Pokemon ecosystem, as the limited number of wild zones pushed the Pokemon found there to be very aggressive and territorial. And while this caused most Pokemon to adapt by becoming more frightening in battle, Gothamaka adapted its body to resemble the gothic stonework found across the land, which acts as a very aesthetic camouflage. And at level 35, it would evolve into Darmagoyle. Now, having survived the vicious environments of the city, Darmagoyle now strives to ensure that no other Pokemon has to face the same dangers it did. In fact, it's even known to group up in small teams of Darmagoyle who squad up to protect their fellow Pokemon. As well, during the day, they stay in their Zen modes, conserving their energy while perched atop the highest structures they can find. As soon as night falls, they burst alive and begin bounding from rooftop to rooftop, scanning for any Pokemon in peril before swooping down and putting the aggressors between a rock and a hard place, employing fighting styles similar to the ones used in the show Gargoyles, for which this Pokemon get their inspiration. And one day, a seemingly ordinary group of older Darmagoyle geared up for a regular night of patrol, just like they had done since they were young, until during which the group would hear a terrifying wail coming from one of the city's great landmarks. And upon approaching the commotion, the group was shocked to see Carvgoyle facing off against a terrifying cosmic beast, the likes of which they'd never seen. And at first, the group got ready for a show. Carvgoyle was a known hero around here, a mythical Pokemon that protected the greatest of the city's architecture with its mythical transformation power, which surely would make quick work of this evil threat. However, this time was different. The group of Darmagoyle watched as Carvgoyle prepared its defense, only for the cosmic monstrosity to destroy the source of Carvgoyle's power, leaving it defenseless as it began to go in for a final blow. And upon seeing this, the other observers to the battle fled for their lives, including many other groups of Darmagoyle who flew away in pure fear. However, this group of Darmagoyle was different. They had been together far too long to doubt their abilities now, and Carvgoyle was too important to the city to leave to perish, so they swooped in at once, putting themselves in between the corrupted dragon and the weakened mythical. Soon, a battle ensued, with Darmagoyle using all the tricks and battle tactics they picked up across their many years together to challenge their attacker, and these old statues put up a fight. Their experience showed as they even appeared to have the monster on the rope, but eventually its power was too much as it beat back the group of Darmagoyle using a huge burst of cosmic energy. And while it looked like time was up for our statued friends as they had now fully angered the beast, they could rest assured that their plan worked, as in the commotion of their attack, Carvgoyle was able to retreat safely, living to fight another day. However, this interference enraged the distant evil cosmic legendary. How dare these simple stones ruin its plan to take out one of Earth's greatest protectors? It would not allow their heroics to go unpunished. Perishing in battle was too good a fate for these wretched interferers. So it took their stone remains and combined them into corrupted Darmagoyle. Now a twisted amalgamation of the once heroic brothers, this creature has been forced to scour the city for Carvgoyle, forever trapped in this terrible form until they can track down and destroy the mythical they once defended. In terms of stats, corrupted Darmagoyle is absolutely absolutely insane. However, just like all the other corrupted forms, it does have one glaring weakness, that being its ability, which is actually slow start. And for the shiny, I went with this red color as a reference to the original Darmanitan. But now let's get into the second Pokemon. And today's second Pokemon will be for Kristen. I actually love Jujutsu Kaisen, so I think I'll definitely end up making either a region or a custom Pokemon themed episode for it, so be on the lookout. But anyways, Kristen, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be a starter Pokemon. That is amazing and easily one of the rarest results you could have got. And now let's spin this wheel to see if you'll be a fire, grass, water, or electric type starter, and you are going to be a fire type starter. We do already have Galilidai as the official fire type starter, but making more is always fun, and they could always still end up being in my fan-made game as some sort of DLC or something. And it'd be pretty boring if we just left you pure fire type, so let's still spin this wheel to get a secondary type, and it's the ice type? That is super weird. A fire ice type starter is extremely paradoxical, so wish me luck. Picking this starter is nothing to be ashamed of. The first stage of your Pokemon is Sparchick, the baby Phoenix Pokemon. This Pokemon has a flame on its head, which is small in size, but large in power. As despite it looking like a feeble ember that would burn out at the slightest of breezes, Sparchick's flame is actually nearly impossible to put out, as it will continue to burn whether Sparchick is awake, asleep, or even fainted, standing in the driest of climates, surrounded by rain, or even completely submerged in water. Making Sparchick the perfect partner for survivalists, cave explorers, and heavy smokers. And at level 17, it would evolve into Candling. Now having gained the ice typing, this Pokemon is now in a constant fight against its own body. As in addition to its constantly burning flame, Candling has also began producing a never-ending supply of icy material from its head and wings, leaving its body in a permanent state of melting and refreezing. And you think this process would leave Candling in constant pain and torment, but you'd be very wrong. As for all intents and purposes, it's actually a super relaxed and chill Pokemon that doesn't even seem to notice its perplexing situation. And at level 38, it would evolve into Friginix. This Pokemon is chock full of so much elemental energy that it would easily be one of the strongest starter Pokemon of all time if it wasn't for the fact that the two elements don't quite agree with each other. As while its wings burn with a soaring immortal flame, the heat they produce during quick flights can melt away its icy exterior and leave it vulnerable to physical attack. However, if it instead chooses to stay stationary and let the ice on its body solidify and harden, giving it a coat of nearly indestructible frozen armor, it will eventually become too heavy and cumbersome to move around at any real speed. And while this does go along well with the Phoenix, for which this Pokemon gets its inspiration from, as the constantly melting and refreezing ice represents rebirth, it makes for a Pokemon that's very powerful, but even more difficult to pilot, with most experts agreeing it should only be used by the most advanced of trainers. In terms of stats, Friginix is very strong where it's strong, but very weak where it's weak, boasting high special attack with low special defense, as well as high physical defense, but low physical attack. And while its speed is solid, its HP is definitely on the lower side. And for the shiny, I changed the color of the flames and made its red features blue. But now let's get into the third Pokemon. But before we get into the final Pokemon, it's time for the member modifier. This is the segment of the show where we take a fan favorite Pokemon from a previous episode in the series and give it a brand new upgrade. Because we don't have many for today's episode, I had my channel members vote between 3 Pokemon to give a brand new Gigantamax form. And the options were Levialost, the giant disconnected ghostly dragon head, Plutarch, the large royal insect who's constantly hungry, and Dractical, the mind-controlling vampire squid. And the winner was Levialost, which when taken to a power spot and exposed to a wishing star will transform into Gigantamax Levialost. Now that the wishing star has supercharged it with an extreme surge of ghostly energy, Levialost is able to revive the rest of its once humongous draconic body as it's now back to its original form. And while the power level of this temporary state is absolutely insane, it's even more insane when you consider that once upon a time, this was just the base form of the Pokemon. So let's all take a second to be thankful that that's no longer the case. Huge thank you to all my channel members. I hope you like Gigantamax Levialost, and for the shiny, I went with this pink color because I thought it looked nice. And today's third Pokemon Pokemon will be for Lyrical lore. That's an ironic comment considering we just made it. But anyways, Lyrical, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be a legendary. This episode has been absolutely stacked. And now we need to spin this wheel to see what kind of legendary you'll be, aside trio, villain, or box art legend, and you're going to be part of a legendary trio, which means we'll have to connect your Pokemon to a previous legendary from the series. And now let's see what typing this legendary is going to be. Your first up is going to be the Steel type. That's good. We've definitely had some Steel type legendaries before, and Steel Dark type. That's the second Dark type of the episode, which is weird, but I doubt anyone's complaining because it's easily one of the coolest types. And the last step, before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see what its X Factor is going to be, and it is a signature move. Interesting. If you didn't see, in a recent video, I actually went through and redesigned all the AI Pokemon from the earliest episodes of the series, and one of the Pokemon we redesigned was the legendary Titaurus, and I think it's the perfect pick to get expanded lore. You see, Titaurus is a huge mechanical beast which was built by a highly advanced civilization to protect their capital. However, one day it was infected with a virus which caused Titaurus to enter its ancient wrath form and decimate the city that it once protected. But this begs the question, who infected Titaurus with this virus? Introducing your Pokemon, Airburst, the virus cannon Pokemon. Whereas Titaurus gets its name from Tartarus, the deepest part of Hades, Airburst gets its name from Aeror and Airbus, the land between Hades and Earth. But how does this tie into the story of these two mechanical beasts? Well, you see, Titaurus hails from a region where technology is king. The people living there worshipping unalive machines which do everything for them. And while this has allowed the region to grow and prosper at an extremely fast pace, it's also drawn the ire of a neighboring region which does utilize technology, but only as a means to an end. As while this region does use machinery to assist with everyday life, they prioritize the human experience and see their high-tech neighbors as so removed from humanity that they might as well be robotic zombies. And it was these conflicting ways of life that brought Airburst's nation to wage war on the city Titaurus guarded by constructing their own mechanized creation with the specific goal of launching a virus from its cannon and destroying their neighbors using the very machines they worship. And this is reflected in Airbus's signature move, Wrath Cannon, a special attacking dark type move which deals 70 base damage and will cause any electric type hit with the move to malfunction and become disloyal to their trainer. That's right, electric type foes hit by Wrath Cannon will occasionally disregard their trainer's commands, just like Pokemon that you traded for do when the player is under level, making Wrath Cannon a niche but brutal move that severely punishes the opponent for relying on electricity. In terms of stats, Rathus is very fast and hits hard, but it's super frail, making it a true glass cannon. And for the shiny, I went with this dark gray color to go along with the unknown that line its cannon. If you like today's episode, make sure to check out all the other episodes of the custom Pokemon series, which can be found in this playlist. Today's episode was crazy, but get used to it because now that we're AI free, we're only going to be doing bigger and better things every episode. Speaking of which, I need to go start making another one, so until next time, peace.